Screening procedures. Now, it's very important to understand the situation that you're working with. Now, there's 4 different categories when we talk about screening procedures. Now, number 1, renewals. So every time you have an appointment for a renewal payment, you're going to have to screen the situation. Number 2, cancel policies. You're always going to have to confirm the information from the actual previous policy, the policy that was canceled. Number 3, endorsements. And number 4, late payments. Now we're going to review just a basic concept of each one, and there's a lot of different segments and videos where you're going to understand the details of each section. But for now, let's talk about the renewals. Now, within the renewals, it's mandatory to look at a couple different factors. So I want you to write them down. Now, number 1, when you actually have a renewal payment, first of all, you need to confirm, number 1, you need to confirm that they have the renewal payment with them. So, for instance, if the renewal payment is in 5 days, 10 days, 7 days, or even 15 days, before we invest the time to actually look into the situation to see if we have something better, more affordable, and we can rewrite them and offer them a new policy, we need to make sure that they can make the renewal payment today. Because if they're not able to make the renewal payment, then we're going to be discussing and reviewing information that's not going to help us today. Matter of fact, we're going to have to reschedule them. So number 1, within the renewals, make sure they have the renewal payment. Number 2, you're going to have to ask them if they're making any changes. So before you open up the FSC and you match the information, ask them, are they making any changes? Are they adding any drivers? Are they adding any vehicles? Are they going to make any changes within the coverages? Have they moved from one address to a different address? Just ask them in general. Are there any changes that they're going to be making within the next 30 days? Because if they're making any changes within the next 30 days, you could use that to your advantage to offer a rewrite option. Number 3, you need to make sure that everything matches. If they're not making any changes, make sure that the information on the website and the Hogsoft match the FSC. So that means make sure you're quoting the right information, the right situation, the right vehicles, the right drivers, the right coverages. Make sure everything matches on the FSC when you're checking to see if there's anything lower. Double check the coverages, double check everything. So make sure that the FSC is updated and everything matches before we start introducing anything at all. Number 4, quote them to see if there's something lower. So the whole screening process for the renewal is, once again, number 1, make sure they have the renewal payment available. Number 2, find out if they're making any changes whatsoever. Are they making any changes at all? Number 3, make sure that the FSC is updated and all the information matches. And number 4, requote them to determine if there's something lower. And if there's something lower, we're going to offer a rewrite option. If there's nothing lower, we're going to try to take the payment. So that's the screening procedure for a renewal quote or just a renewal appointment. Now the second section, we're talking of cancel policies. Now for cancellation policies, you're also going to confirm a few information. You're going to follow a couple steps. Step number 1, make sure that they have the previous monthly payment. So if their policy canceled last month or 2 months ago and they were paying $150, you're going to ask them, do you have the $150 available? Do you have your previous monthly payment? Don't worry, do you have that available today? So that's number 1. Make sure they have the previous payment. Number 2, determine when was the last payment. So for instance, if the last payment was on March the 25th, determine when was the last payment and also determine what that payment was for. Only because the payment was processed March the 25th, it doesn't necessarily mean that it covered from March to April. It could have possibly been that that payment that they made was a previous month. It was for the previous month. So maybe the policy was canceled as of March, not April. So then in that case, if today is May, if we're in the month of May, then even though they made a payment for March, maybe the policy still canceled in March and they were late on their April payment and now May. So instead of us assuming that their payment was from March the 25th to April the 25th, so that would only make them late 1 month. Now realistically, they're behind 2 months. The month for April and then obviously the month for May. So it's very important to determine when was the last payment and what was that payment for. For what month did they have coverage? Now, don't go based on the date of the payment or when the policy got canceled. Go based on when was the last payment processed and what was that payment for? What month was it for? What month did they have coverage for? So that's number 2. Number 3, you're going to make sure that everything matches. Matter of fact, number 3 is find out if they have or if they're making any changes. Are they adding any cars, adding any vehicles, drivers, coverages? Are they making any changes at all? Number 4, you're going to make sure the information matches on the FSC, that all the information from the website, from the Hawkstock, everything that needs to be taken in consideration as far as coverage, vehicles, drivers, that everything matches on the FSC. Number 5, you're going to requote them with the new option. Now, this is the screening procedures. We're not specifically talking about setting up the presentation or what to offer, how to phrase things. This is just simply screening the procedure. So if you ever have a cancel policy, these are the 5 basic steps that you need to follow. If you don't follow these steps, you're not going to have the right information, or you may be quoting the wrong information. So make sure to follow these. Section number 3, endorsements. Now for endorsements, number 1, find out if they have the $100. There's a $100 endorsement fee. Find out if they have it. If they don't have it, we may not go through the whole quoting process because we're going to invest time on something that we're not able to process. So find out, number 1, find out if they have the 100. Number 2, determine what changes are they making. Are they making changes as far as adding a car, adding a driver, adding coverages? What type of change? Now, we're not going to go into details of the categories of changes, but there's a category that we could check to see if we could rewrite it. And there's another category that's real basic, like maybe excluding a driver, changing some sort of address within the same zip code. If this basic changes, they may not be responsible for the 100. But if they're adding a car, adding a driver, or simply adding coverages, that may give us an opportunity to sell them another policy, to rewrite it depending on the situation. So find out, so number 2, find out what type of changes they're making. Number 3, you're going to make sure that all the new changes and the current situation is updated on the FSC. So you're going to make sure if they're adding a car, that car has to be added on the FSC. But if they're keeping the previous cars that they have on their policy, you need to make sure everything matches on the FSC with the new changes that they're making. So everything has to be updated on the FSC. Number 4. Number 4, you're going to process the endo on the website just to determine what type of changes their company is going to offer. Don't discuss it with the client. Don't tell them anything. Just process it on the website and leave it available for the underwriter to help you. Number 5, you're going to requote the situation to determine if we have something more affordable or more beneficial so that we could offer a new policy versus processing the endorsement. So these are the 5 steps when you're working on an endorsement. Number one, once again, make sure they have the 100. Number two, find out what changes are they making. Number three, make the changes, update the FSC, make sure everything matches. Number four, process the endorsement on the website just so we can determine what option is going to be the best one. Number five, we're going to requote them and we're going to compare to see what option will be better. If it's a new business, a new policy that we could offer, or simply processing the endorsement. So this is the screening process for an endorsement quote or an endorsement situation. Now, the fourth section of the screening procedures is the late payment. Now, there's companies that don't offer a grace period, so they may only offer 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days, and that's pretty much it. They may not have any coverage after that. So if you have a policy that's late, a payment that's late, then we're going to screen the situation to see if we have an option that would be a lot better. So for late payments, you're simply going to find out, you're going to determine how late the payments are. So is it 5 days late? Is it 7 days late? Is it 10 days late? How late is a payment? Now, depending on how late it is, we're going to try to offer a new solution. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to check the payment history to see if they're constantly late. Because if they're constantly late, I may just be able to offer another option using EFT if they have EFT to eliminate them being late, to eliminate late fees, and most importantly, to eliminate any cancellations. Now, keep in mind that the policies, the payments that are late, within that time that they're late, they're driving without insurance. So we may be able to offer a better option with a different company that offers a grace period, like Infinity, or just simply setting them up on electronic payments to eliminate being late, having no coverage, and possibly paying additional fees. Number three, you're going to check the FSC to see if there's any alternatives. And if there's any alternatives, we're going to offer them a new solution. So those are the four main screening procedure sections that you need to follow. Number one, once again, is the renewals. Now, the concept of screening the situation is simply to have everything accurate so that we could requote them to see if we could sell them another policy. Cancel policies, the purpose of screening a cancel policy is simply to determine if we're insuring the right vehicles. So that means making sure that we're insuring the cars that were insured before coverages, to make sure we offer an option to reinstate the right situation. Now, it's mandatory to understand how late or to determine what the last payment was worth and for what month was it worth for. And this is going to allow you to set up a stronger presentation. For endorsements, it's very important to screen the situation to determine if we have an option that we could offer as a rewrite. And late payments, the same thing. The concept of screening is just to make sure that whatever they have as far as their situation or whatever they had as far as their previous situation, that we're ensuring the same thing, that everything matches. Now, within the screening procedures, there's other basic details as far as checking the spelling, checking the phone numbers, checking everything within the previous policy, but we'll review that on a different segment. So once again, screening procedures is to make sure we understand the situation, that everything matches, so as soon as we requote them, we're requoting the right situation.